them to do what they did to him later, handcuffing him and showing the world, making a mockery of him. He didn't want that. So that's why he said, this is money, if this is what you want, take it.
You don't say this in the book. Did you or your mother or your family at any point when the allegations of sexual abuse came out, did you ever, any of you, have a moment of thinking maybe he did do this?
Never. I always said my brother is 1,000% innocent. I always said this.
But throughout the book, and even with less serious things that people have said, for example, a 2008 photograph of Michael Jackson in a wheelchair looking very, very frail and ill, which a lot of people made a lot of, particularly when he died. You say in the book that was his sense of humor. He was fooling people. He was trying to make them think he was frail.
I'll tell you, if you look at that photograph very well, look at his posture. He's sitting up. A person who's frail is like this in the wheelchair. This was one of Michael's stunts because he knew that the public was so saying that he had problems with lungs and this and that, and he wasn't healthy. He was dancing 4 hours a day. It was his way of manipulating the press. Michael was the master of manipulation, especially the press, because he knew they were on to him, and also he was the ultimate showman. But when you look at this picture clearly, you will see that he's sitting up. He's not slouched.
Even before that 2008 photograph, you're clear in the book that he had a series of addictions, didn't he? To painkillers.
Yeah, to painkillers, yes. Yes.
Are the ones we know about, but
that was painkillers.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he had a history of addiction.
No, not addiction. That was painkillers. That was in, 2002, that time. But that's not what killed Michael Jackson.
No, we're going to get to that. But I'm talking about in the past, though.
Yes, but
he had health problems over a number of decades.
Not health problems, no. Not health problems.
But addiction is a health problem, isn't it?
Well, it's because of pain and not being able to sleep. But his heart during his last days was fine. His heart was fine then.
And yet something happens, and you're clear about this in the book. Whereas a lot of people have written about his death and the decline before that, they say it was a long, long decline, that he'd been getting frail and ill for years and perhaps was ill. You say in the book it happened very, very quickly. You say he was fit and well and thin but healthy, and then suddenly in those last few weeks something happened.
Yes.
Well, do you want to tell us what you think did happen?
Well, I feel that from knowing all of my brother's tours, knowing his preparation for his tours, and even with him being excited about just creating, there were never symptoms of Michael being very cold on one side of his body and very hot on the other side. There were never symptoms of Michael repeating himself.
These are all reports of things during the final weeks of rehearsal.
These are things that you didn't see, and this is it. So what I've done in the book is...
This is it again, to explain to people who haven't seen it, is the movie that was put together from the rehearsal footage after... This
is what we had eyes and ears into the rehearsals, and we can't say who, but this is what they didn't see. And so this behavior came from propofol.
This is the hospital strength anesthetic, which you discovered after his death, and it's there in the autopsy. Strength, yeah. It should only be used in hospitals.
Exactly.
But you discovered afterwards, it's in the autopsy report, that he was being given it at home.
He was given this over a period of time. They're trying to say it was just one dose that killed him one night. No, this was administered in him. He trusted the doctors. He was not an anesthesiologist. The doctor was Murray, who was a cardiologist. We don't know if he acted alone because the surveillance tapes were erased from the LAPD. And all this stuff brings questions to us as a family, because the big question I have, why weren't they concerned about the person? This is neglect.
But on that point, because you're very clear in the book about how close you were as a family, particularly you and your mother, how much you felt about him, and yet you're also saying that all this was going on, that he was being given hospital-strength anesthetics at night, and you as a family knew nothing about any of that.
They kept us away. We know the drummer knows our numbers. We know there are people that were around him that were very personal to us and knew us. No one called us to say, come down here. Your brother's not acting normal. Something's going on.
You talk about being kept away from him. There are a number of times in the book where you go to try and see your brother, and either his Nation of Islam bodyguards or other people around him, they send you away. They actually send away his own family members. But how did it get to that, though?
It got to that because they all have hidden agendas. I put the Nation there. I put them there because he couldn't trust the security that he had, but I never thought that I would be kept away.
Do you feel that you as a family could and should have done more?
That's a good question. You know why? Because doing more would have been just storming through security and fighting and physically busting through doors and say, no, we're here to get him. We're here to be with him because we don't know what you're doing, what your plan is. We felt we did as much as we could do. We knew that they didn't want us around. We knew after Thriller albums and this and that, they wanted to become his brothers, his sister, his mother, his father. And it got to a point where they didn't really care about him the way we did. I thought they just neglected him and they let him die.
Well, the picture you present of Michael Jackson in the book to me is of someone who, there's a phrase we use, his own worst enemy, that he kept making bad decisions. So, and you put them in a good light. So when he holds his young child over a hotel balcony, you say it's his prankish sense of humor and people have made too much of it. Again, he gets into the wheelchair, that's a prank. But he keeps... If he got a bad press, he did encourage that, didn't he? He did stupid things.
No, not stupid things. Okay, he got caught up in the moment, but I'll say this. You can't tell me that there's never been anyone else that has taken a child and tossed them up in the air and caught them. True.
Yes, but not standing on a high hotel balcony.
True, but I said he was caught up in the moment, but at the same time, when you look at Michael's works, and you look at the person, what has he done that has been so different and so strange? To call him Wacko Jacko, to call him these crazy names. Had he not been Michael Jackson with any of these
Bubbles the Chimp, the Neverland Ranch. I mean, these aren't common in showbiz, are they?
Listen, I had my first snake for my 17th birthday. Michael raised the rats. I had the snakes. He fed his rats to my snake. I've raised a tiger. Before Michael, I've raised a mountain lion. Before Michael got the idea to do Neverland because I had the ranch first. I had swans. I had 11 horses, 11 dogs, and this and that. The whole Jungle Book story means a lot to us. It's animals, it's nature, it's God's gift to us. We had a giraffe at Havenhurst eating the neighbor's flowers, and the neighbors complained and said, we're tired of him eating our flowers. We have to take the giraffe away. I mean, this is just the love for animals.
And a lot of the stuff that's written by other people, it presents him as, even the sympathetic stuff, it presents him as someone who was destroyed by show business and by fame, that it killed him, he was a victim of it. Do you think that?
No, Michael wasn't destroyed by show business and fame. They wanted to destroy him, but he was very much loving his craft, and he wanted to do something that was different. And I do feel that during that day when we were waiting for the verdict and we were sitting there, and it wasn't the judge, because the judge didn't even care about him using the bathroom. Why would he care about him being innocent? It was God and his work for God that freed him.
And yet there's an amazing revelation in the book to me. During the child abuse trial, you had a plane ready to get him out of the country to Bahrain if it looked as if the trial was going against him.
Before the verdict?
Yeah.
Very good. Then you're the first one that got it right.
Yeah.
Let me shake your hand.
Well,
you know why?
But what you say is that if you got the word from his lawyers that it was going badly, you would have got him out. You wouldn't have waited for the verdict.
If I felt in my heart of hearts first, because just imagine watching your little brother being accused of that you know he didn't do. And then after feeling this way, it's the plan that I had. Nobody knew, not even him, nobody but myself and God. What changed my mind was prayer, being very, very strong in my belief, and knowing that he's done so much good, so many good things for people. When it was time for the verdict, we got the call, and we rushed there, and Michael's in the car, and he's beating his fist against the floor. Why? My sister Rebe is reading the Bible to him, and I'm in another car, and I'm holding this prayer from the Quran around my neck, and I'm saying, my baby is coming.
I'm sorry, I know this is...
It's tough.
Very difficult, I know, I understand.
But we knew he was coming back to Neverland. Going to the courthouse and watching the 6 sheriffs. If he was guilty, he's going through this door and he's going straight to jail. 9 counts of what? So we were faced with all of that, and then Janet and I were upstairs in a room, and the windows were taped off, and we heard this cheering. So I couldn't stay in the room, so I ran down the hall and I pulled some papers loose, and there was this lady releasing these doves, and I didn't really understand, but I knew doves were kind of positive, and next thing I knew someone rubbed upstairs and said he's free on all counts, but I've always knew that he was innocent, but I knew how the system can be sometimes, and that's why I felt that way.
Now, on that point, finally, will you and your family accept the verdict in the doctor's trial, Dr. Murray, whatever happens?
Yes, but we just don't know. We're waiting to see what the evidence is going to be, but still, whatever happens, it's not going to bring Michael back.
Jermaine Jackson, you are not alone. Michael Through a Brother's Eyes is out now in hardback.